she's there, I get in trouble with somebody.
Go into it because
Thankfully, she's not here,
it's
Kevin.
so
It'd
huge.
probably be cool if like your system had some sort of
Yeah.
like there's no
Great
like
to see you again.
like
Instead, what?
camera that goes off.
It's off my,
Somebody can then count us in.
the implied is quite handy. It's one of the few things I have. You
All right.
say, okay, look,
Well, maybe we should get started.
you're bigger than I am.
Like that clock says.
Perhaps I was just a back of my. It's not.
Yeah, that's
It's
actually
not.
the official clock, yes. So it is 4:30. Alrighty, so it's 4:30. We're gonna get started. End of day one of CALICON 19. Is everybody having a good time?
Yeah.
Yeah! Woo! The only question I have is, since I'm in control of the schedule, why did I put myself at the end of the first day? And I'm at the beginning of, I'm at the beginning of tomorrow. So. Yeah, cut the reception a little short.
End of the beginning.
Yeah, something like that. Alrighty, so hello and welcome. This is Introducing CALI Author Webs. We've got something new. I'm Elmer Masters. This is Sam Gosher. Oh, sorry. Sam doesn't talk much, and so, well, but we build cool things for CALI, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. That's right. So we're gonna take a look at something brand new, and so I have a little. Oh, hold on, there we go. I don't know why I put it. I always do an introduction slide. Somebody told me once long ago they should have an introduction slide. I always put one in. I don't know why anymore, but it sticks around. So we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson so that folks, because that's fun, right? With the stuff that we've already done, that we're sort of building on. Look, it's a new term, the CALI Learning Platform, so I'll talk about that. That's like everything. And then Sam's going to do a demo of CALI Author Web, and that'll take you through the whole process of creating a CALI lesson and publishing it to the website, and I guess running it too, right? Absolutely. Because one of the things we realized when we were putting this together is that we launched the new version of the CALI Lesson Viewer in January, and we didn't have it for the conference last year. So all the work on it was done like between, well, not all the work, it was being worked on during the conference last year. We didn't really show it to anybody at the conference last year, and then we beta tested it and stuff in the fall and went live with it in January. So we'll throw in a little bit of that too. So a little bit of the history stuff, right? So CALI's been doing lessons for like ever, right? And some of the oldest lessons go back way the heck back, right? Into the 80s. And I guess there were CALI lessons before there was an authoring platform, right?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I
So-
took one as a student.
There you go. And I did a lot of the DOS-based ones when I was in law school in the early 90s. They were installed on computers in the library, and we had, my evidence professor was a big fan of the evidence lessons, and he would break us up into teams, and we would sit at the DOS computers, running through those evidence lessons in the computer lab. So and then 1988 was the sort of first authoring platform. Did that have a name, Sam? Was it CALI Author?
Nope.
No, just was.
It was text files and Pascal code.
There you go. And then 99. Actually, Sam's leaving out something here, right? Because aren't you leaving out Web OLS?
I know.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, there's
I
too much
almost
to fit on there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna skip that. So 1999, then it was CALI Author, which only runs in Windows, which we're still using. Works well. And so stuff can run on Windows or the web, or it can be distributed on CD-ROM, which we did for a number of years, right? Although I don't think, they used to turn up on eBay back in the early days, right? Graduated law students would list their CALI CD-ROMs on eBay. It's funny, man. People sell anything on eBay.
Yeah.
So now it's 2019, and so we're doing a web version of CALI Author. So, and Sam's done a really good job of, as you'll see, of making it look a lot. It has a lot of the functionality of the desktop version, but it's in the web, right? So it does. So that just makes it a ton more useful. So CALI Author is really all about all those lessons, right? So there are 1,066 lessons we've determined today at lunch, and because that's a number that's always growing. And there are dozens of topics, and this is the topic list from the website, and and they're used hundreds of times, hundreds of thousands of times a year by tens of thousands of law students. Yay! And they're all created and maintained with CALI Author, right? So, and right now that's Windows desktop only type stuff. And it involves mailing files around a lot. Deb's like a master with email and a spreadsheet to keep track of all that stuff. So part of moving things to the web, of course, is the ability to is going to be the ability to have some collaborative features and the ability to have workflows that don't involve mailing things to Deb. And it'll just make it easier to keep things up to date, for folks to work on stuff, and that's in Deb's workflow. And then having it on the web will also make it better for people to just use if they want to create their own lessons. So, and then this is the new versus the old. So it's interesting because it's not like a huge difference, but what it does is it leaves behind a platform that's desktop specific. So you need to have Windows, and it's sort of getting increasingly difficult to keep up with. As Windows gets newer, some of the things could start breaking down. Like Flash went away, those sorts of things are just getting hard to maintain. So the browser-based version, so it becomes a browser-based web app. That's going to enable everybody to create lessons, as well as help modernize the CALI Author workflow for actual CALI lessons. We're going to start calling lessons created with CALI Author on the web self-published lessons instead of auto-published, because self-published is self-explanatory. Auto-published requires us to say, well, that means. But it's not going to be so automatic, maybe, which is what we were thinking when we did auto-publish. So, and then, although the current fellowship that Deb's starting is still going to use the desktop version because we're not quite ready with the web version. But this could very well be the last fellowship that uses the desktop version. Don't you think so?
Sure.
Yeah. And then, so new fellowships will start using the web-based version of things. So, but the thing is for me, like I've been waiting for the web version of CALI Author for like 10 years. So, because it sort of provides like a last piece and something that I'm thinking about calling the CALI Learning Platform, right? So we have all these pieces, CALI Author, lessons, the viewer, QuizWrite, e-Dell books, Lesson Live and student performance analytics, things like ClassCaster and Lawbooks and Instapoll that provide all of these tools and pieces that can come together as a platform upon which legal education things can be built. So now we have like this giant toolbox, and having CALI Author on the web is sort of the last piece to sort of pull all those things together and give us a way to sort of run all of this through, through a kind of an open source, open platform kind of thing that'll run anywhere. right? And one of the things that we get from like the web version of CALI Author and things like QuizWrite is the ability to do both learning tools and assessment tools, right? Because CALI Author is about learning, QuizWrite's about assessment. Those are kind of, those are different sorts of things. But as you'll see when Sam does the demo, the web version of CALI Author is going to support all the great stuff that goes with CALI Author now. So you'll have the ability to add media, audio, video, pictures. You'll be able to do most of the question types, and everything will run in the new viewer, and so that's all going to be pretty good. And then there's the analytics to go with that. So you'll be able to create on the web, a full-blown CALI lesson, publish it to the site, send the URL to the students, have the students run it, and then get in and look at the analytics, see how they did, go through the questions, take a look at how things worked out, and whether or not students are getting what you want them to get. We were talking about, and Sam and I have talked about things like, having people write quizzes for their lessons, right? So you have a lesson that explains a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're pulling in, and then you bring QuizWrite back in just to assess to make sure that they've got the points. And I think Sally mentioned she's doing that with some lessons now in the course that she's teaching online. So, these things are all coming together in a single platform, and then we should be able to help people work on these things. So, does anybody have any questions before I kind of flip it over for the demo part? No? Okay, good. So now we're going to do. Sam's going to do a demo of CALI Author Web and run through some stuff. Take it away, Sam. Oh, wrong one. Oh, yeah. How do you go backwards? That's a good question. Oh, there you go. That'll work.
First I want to ask, how many of you used CALI Author? Okay.
Cool. All right.
So what was the URL again?
Yeah,
We can get
on
to this now.
The beta.
It's
Oh, we'll get to that. He got ahead of slide.
Well,
We'll bring. That's my big closer.
All right, so this is the CALI Author main screen. If you used QuizWrite, this will look sort of familiar, similar to QuizWrite interface. You have a library where you collect all your lessons that you're working on. And one thing we want to do is to allow easier access to the existing CALI library.
Sam, can't really hear you.
No, you kind of need to speak up in here. It's one of those things.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have the lessons that you're working on. You can share your lessons with others. So you could have multiple authors working on the same lesson. Community library will allow you will have a lesson you'd like other people to see or work with. And the CALI library, which is basically all the CALI lessons that are written in CALI Author. And these are all available. You can make a copy and start editing it. And pop into existing.
Sure.
And Deb always likes to demo Battle of the Forms. Let's discuss some nice branching. So this is the main interface of this particular lesson. You have your outline, listing all the questions, in the order that they appear the student would be running them in. And on the right-hand side is the section where you edit that particular page's content. So let's go to introduction. So in this case, we have a question. This is text. And then at the top here, we have different views. So you have, this is author mode, where you can actually edit. Student view. So this is one where you would, this is what the students would see, their version. And this is the new viewer. So if you're using CALI Author now, the current Windows version is using the older viewer. So it will look different. If you use lesson text, this is what faculty would view if they want to look at the questions of a lesson with actually running the lesson. You can go in and view and see all the questions and answers. And this is just to allow you to see all the content without having to deal with the interface elements. And you can actually run through the lesson in this mode. Go back to author here. Let's go to a question. So here we have a multiple choice question. And this particular design is very scroll oriented. So if you've got a mouse wheel, this will work very well. So in CALI Author Windows, all these sections will be in separate tabs. Tabbing. Here you can see everything in one space. So in this, simple question type. Question, this is a choice question. We have two choices, headers and analysis. We have, what's got a branch? Okay, so if you're familiar with CALI Author, then this editing section will be quite obvious and easy to work with. So you have editing particular questions or pages, and then you have managing all the questions that are in the lesson. So that's where you have this section here. So you have the outline. These are all branches that for lessons that have, like a yes/no question, and yes goes one way, no goes another way. These all appear here. And these are pop-ups, so we have like hyperlink. You click on it, you get more information in the pop-up window. Let's see. Let's go. And if you use CALI Author, this is a flow chart. So you can walk through the lesson. So we're just going to faculty view. So as you create new questions and change the links, the map will automatically update. And this is mainly so you can see how the flow of the lesson works. A lot of lessons might just have one question after another, so you just have a straight view of it.
So Sam, that looks pretty much like the existing mapper I just put on the web version?
It is pretty much, yes.
Okay, right.
Right, you have the question, name, and then in this case there's 5 choices, A, B, C, D, E, or a yes/no question here. Right, it's just, let's see, go back. So Civ 18, Joinder is a very elaborate branching lesson. I would like to use this one because it's so detailed. Zoom out a bit. So you can see this lesson has got lots of branches for remedial or follow-up questions. And all works quite well, quite fast to look up. Let's go create a lesson. So we review an existing CALI lesson, and if you wanted to, you could make a copy of a CALI lesson and edit You can make changes as you wished, but we'll write a new lesson. Right, so just create a lesson. And if you used CALI Author before, it's the same brand new lessons, just intro, question one, conclusion. And you fill those in and you just expand by adding more question types. So let's just follow the script here. So, created an intro page. There it is. Go on to question. Yes, no question. Now, of course, I can change this type. If I don't want to do yes, no, I can do. So you have your plain text, you have text with an audio, text with video, hook in YouTube, the hotspot graphic picker where you have like a chart and you have the student pick on different areas in the graphic. The slideshows, multiple choice, short, which is basically it's yes, no, or ABC are the two classes there. And I know a lot of authors favor the question where you have several related questions, all one after the other. And so that is here too, choice. Variety of categorizing types, so which of these are in this area kind of thing. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'll probably be describing these more loudly. Short answer, so you can have a student type in a phrase and you can have multiple ways to check and see what answer they get. Essay, I know a lot of people like to type yes. Another thing about essay, and all the answers that students give are recorded. When they're running the lesson, all their essay responses are all recorded on CALI. So if the professors assigned it through a lesson link, they can see all their answers. Silent. All right, let's yes. All right. Is the CALI conference over 25 years old? Does anyone know the answer?
Yes.
Is it?
According to what John said this morning.
Right, so yes is correct. Oops. All right. Okay, so those are my two responses, yes and no. And then one thing we try to do with CALI is we're trying to reduce the amount of text that we have to review and edit. So wherever we can have a common text, we'll put that in a separate place. So in this case, whether the student answers yes or no, they'll get a custom response for yes and no, plus this additional text, which where you put your detail that you wouldn't want to duplicate. Where's the answer list? All right. Let's check it out. Okay, so answer, people are saying yes, okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. Let's end with a question. Do a fancy question. One that's not used very often, but it's kind of fun, is the order. Now, one thing that's changed, we've CALI Author, in order to support the new viewer, to be more mobile friendly, we've taken certain page types, certain interactions, and have either removed them entirely or consolidated into one type of vertical friendly, mobile friendly layout. And this order is one of them. It used to be called drag into order. For those of you who CALI Author, you may know the term. Anyway, let's see. This is the question where we're going to place some things into the correct order. Oops. And you see the little spell checker. This is just the browser's built-in spell checker. We don't have a spell checker built into the system. Although Deb mentioned she favors Grammarly, so we may make sure that it works with that. Just rely on that as your check. All right. Let's see if I have to sort it. Which one first? Last guest or yours? Okay, so these are things in order, and let's throw something else in there. Trick students. Let's do that. Okay. So, Disney order. Here's lessons. What's the lessons first? Books first. What about lawyers? We don't have those. Well, all right. Okay, good. All right. So we see how quickly it is. You can create a question and move on to the next one. Now, so my lesson is done. Actually, let me stick something here.
Did that just randomly choose the order that it was displayed in?
It randomizes each time. So
Okay.
10 students come in, let's see a different random order every time. Okay. I'm done, right? Yeah, all right. All right, so go back to the main system. Library, here's my lesson. Right there, okay. All right, so I hit publish. Now, if you've used auto-publish before, this will be familiar to you. Basically taken the lesson and moved it into CALI's normal web space. I've actually created a page for it, this lesson. All right, there's a lot in here. All I do is hit save. All right, okay.
And I'm gonna jump in here real quick to let you know that we're actually looking at this is like a preview of tomorrow's session, because this is the theme on the new website, or the new theme. This is running on our development site right now. So, so that's kind of a thing. And the other thing is that one of the things that we're working on before, that we'll get done before we do beta is that we're going to split out, we're gonna kind of do away with auto-publish once the CALI off the web comes, and so you'll publish quizzes from QuizWrite, and you'll publish self-published lessons from CALI Author, so that we'll be able to track those things separately, and you'll be able to see those things separately when using tools like LessonLink and those sorts of things, so that you'll have that kind of separation instead of lumping everything together. So that's just sort of a sneak preview.
All right. So at this point, I could start my lesson. But since I'm also the author of this lesson, I'll actually be seeing it in teacher mode. Are any of you familiar with LessonLink or Lesson Live? So basically, you'll be in that mode where you'll basically see an interface which presents a place for students who are running the lesson at the same time as you to see their answers. Since there's no one around, but let's see if I try this out. Pretend I'm a student. All right, so this is the participant section. There's no one in right now, but I've just published a lesson about the CALI conference. Okay. All right, and so I mentioned the thing about the student answers, so you see here the student section.
Yeah.
Okay, the login.
Student login page.
pretending to be a student. All right, let's see this.
There it is.
All right, so if you had 50 students running that, you would see the results appear. And it would appear, as they answer, it will show up and sort of tally. So you can wait till they've all answered. All right, let's see. Oh, well, let's see what this is. Student. All right. All right, what's the next one? Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, it's out. All right. Well, I should get one wrong, huh?
Yeah.
All right, okay, I got it wrong. No, one person got it wrong. Now, but since there's so many different ways you could get this question wrong, it just taps it to either right or wrong.
But I think when you look at analytics, it gives you more of a breakdown, doesn't it?
Right, so let's take a look at analytics. Okay. I think that's still just right and wrong.
Oh, okay.
So this is basically the report of all the students' responses. So there's only one student here. Let's see. Let's break down. Okay. And so this is something that teachers can use this. And what I'd like to be able to do is, and this would be information that's just for the teacher. And it's possible to anonymize the data and get reports that the authors can see. So you would say 50 students answered this question right, 500 students got it right, got it wrong. But if you're the author and you know that this question is easy, then maybe you should review that question for why they got it wrong. And that's something we'll be adding. And I think that's it. Recovery?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
We can ask questions.
Oh, yeah. Any questions? Yes?
If I wanted to edit, not a lesson that I published, that I wrote, would I be able to easily do that here?
Right, if someone is sharing it with you, or if it's a CALI lesson.
I mean, a CALI lesson.
Right, so you go to
So
here.
a CALI lesson, let's say it was written 5 years ago, and
If it's a CALI lesson it's currently published, then it would be in this list. And you
so
could,
then, okay, so
Right.
then I could then edit it,
that's right. So,
whatever.
right, you put this little icon, and basically it's a copy of the lesson, and then any of the images that come with it.
And then I would auto-publish, self-publish it.
Self-publish it, right.
Yeah.
Right. And any lesson that's self-published goes into a space that is not searchable on our website, so it's sort of like hidden. So we
And
don't.
when I do that, is all the person who wrote it information still there and I'm kind of tacked on to it, or?
It is, right, so if I were to say, whose lesson? So this particular lesson, written by Steve Bradford, and he's still the author's section, so you could go and edit this, or add it to the bottom.
I could edit it, or?
Yeah,
So I could.
But this
leave
is your
off
copy
Steve
of
and
it.
just say-
I don't know if that's a good idea.
If I did that.
but that's what you can do now with CALI Author. You could take
Really?
your
Okay.
CALI lesson and stick
Okay.
your name on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Huh.
And what most people do is they sort of add their name to the bottom in sort of the old traditional casebook sort of style, right? So every time a new author or editor comes in, they just keeps getting longer.
Right.
Yeah, and we do, and then again, you're not editing something, it's something that your students would see
Right.
anyway. So it's not like it's.
And
it's
there's
not
tracking
change.
information, so if you
Yes.
copy a CALI lesson and you start doing stuff to it, there's stuff that's in the database that keeps track of where things are coming and going. It's not necessarily exposed to the author.
Right.
So
I mean, I'm
if
just
we needed to,
thinking,
we could.
You know, when we
find out
talk
what-
about the Creative Commons, that if, that you're supposed to, give, say who it is, I mean, all of this type of stuff when you use the Creative Commons, and I just didn't know if there was anything within how, you know, CALI author works to preserve, you know, the author.
Listens are Creative Commons.
They're not.
Yeah.
But that's a good point there, and there are, because we were just talking about attribution stuff, right? So the attribution stuff stays, doesn't it? Like,
There's the attribution, right, there's an attribution field that's attached and just tags along with the lesson.
right,
And then there's fields
the
that
display,
right.
yeah, the display. So it's like one of those things that's like inside the database, and so we could probably do a better job of, it's like, you probably shouldn't be able to take Steve's name off of it.
Yeah, because I think
We could,
Steve
yeah.
would sue, you know,
Is-
I think he would do something.
Is the copyright field also edited so that could be deleted? Or is that not editable?
All the fields are editable.
Yeah, that probably shouldn't be either.
Right, the copyright field we could auto-populate. I mean, a lot of this is just picked up directly from the current desktop
Right,
version
right.
of
Right.
CALI Author. So we need to go back and look at things like, you know, how we actually deal with the modification of, because it's going to be easier to modify existing lessons.
Yeah.
Right. So we do need to consider exactly how it is that we're going to deal with things like the original author's information and things like copyrights. Because, for example, even though you edit this, you know, the original copyright still stands, and but this is essentially a derivative.
Right.
But we don't grant. I don't think we grant additional rights, if I remember right. I'll have to go and look.
Well, I mean, the reason why the copyright is the way it is now is because the contracts we have between CALI and CALI authors assign the copyright
Right.
to CALI. And so that explains our standard CALI copyright notice on the lessons.
Right.
But I think it's fine, obviously, someone who self-publishes and adds their own content, in fact, owns the copyright to whatever is original and new that they do. But that would be true even if we don't acknowledge that in writing on the lesson.
Right, and there's and our current terms of service deals with auto-published lessons, and I'll obviously get an update when we change the terminology, and we review these over the summer anyway. So deals with things like auto-publish and Classcaster, such that, and I forget exactly what it says about who ends up owning what, but at the very least, CALI ends up with a sort of a perpetual license to use and reuse the material. Is the way it's put together in the terms of service. So, and there is a checkbox for that and all those sorts of things when people create accounts. So, but how all that gets displayed and those sorts of things, so that it all stays current with the contracts that we have with existing authors plus our terms of service, we will need to look at. See, that's why it's not ready for beta yet. Because we're still looking at we're still looking at a lot of the mechanic stuff, plus a lot of the stuff on the Drupal end of things. How do we get back to? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's a window here somewhere. What's that one? And I'll like bail it out and close that one. Close 1, 2 minutes. Wait, now it's all. Somewhere. And eventually we'll get, okay, so here it is, and let's see, how do we restart this? No? So is there a, let's see.
We'll just present.
Oh, present. Present view, okay. And this should pick up, there we go. And then this one I want to drag over to here. Ta-da. And we'll make that extra large. Excellent. Okay, so if you want, this is the slide where everybody didn't get a chance to copy stuff down fast enough. So here it is again. We're gonna, sometime, probably by the end of the month or the beginning of July, we'll have this ready for a beta test for early access. So I set up a little form at that link. There's also a link on the CALI author page that's on the website. You just need to fill out the form. You do need to be logged in. I'm a little tricky about that. So I want to make sure you've got a CALI account because you'll need one anyway. So you need to be logged in to see logged into the CALI site to see the form to request the beta access, and then we'll let you know when it's ready to go. Now, just like we did with ClassCaster, you remember if you had early access to ClassCaster for testing, or not ClassCaster, excuse me, QuizWrite. If you had early access to QuizWrite, which was 2 years ago, I know, right? So much fun. If you had early access to QuizWrite, we ran that right from www.cali.org, right from the main site. And as we went through sort of testing and beta and stuff, we fixed stuff. But you could create things that then stuck around after QuizWrite was released, so you didn't lose any work. We'll do the same thing with CALI Author. So it'll be on www. You won't need to create an account on any funky website or anything like that. And we'll anything that you create during the test period will continue to be available. So you don't have to worry about something disappearing or anything like that. So and we're definitely going to. We're definitely going to be looking for, for feedback on this, and especially on the parts where it interfaces with Drupal and the way that stuff gets out to students and things, because we'll be doing a rewrite on that. So we'll need some input on that. So, and that was actually the last slide. Questions? Wow. Well, since it's
Are you viewing this mainly as a way to improve production? Or are you thinking that more people are going to do self-editing, or is it just time?
all three of those,
Okay.
actually. It's been time for a while. I'm hoping that more people do create their own materials with it. And Sam and definitely Deb are interested in improving the workflow with around authors and getting that sorted out. So yeah, it's all of those things. I'd really like to see more people be able to easily create, or more easily. I mean, it's work, right? I mean, building a 20-minute tutorial on a specific point of law is not something you whip out in an evening. It was like the session. I was in an earlier session with the folks from South Carolina Legal Services, and they talked about building online classrooms, and they built like a half a dozen of them, and it took them 2 years to put together the material. Or, when you look at the way that our fellowships for lessons run, over the course of many months to generate a half a dozen lessons or so. The lessons take time to build, but by removing the hurdle of it has to be Windows, and you've got to download and install this program, and there's all these sort of things that kind of stand in your way. We're hoping that with the web interface and database storage of stuff, because like one of the things that Sam didn't mention is that, for example, with images currently on CALI lessons, is kind of a pain. Well, we're solving that by, just like when you edit, when you how you can drag a file into an email and it automatically attaches and that sort of stuff. So there'll be drag and drop stuff, for example, for image insertion, right? And then that stuff then gets saved in a particular spot, and when the lesson gets published to the website, that all automatically gets moved and put where it needs to be put, and everything gets squared away. There's no longer going and searching out for the images on your hard drive and uploading them and that sort of stuff. So, yes, Jim?
Yeah, so one real advantage that I think you just mentioned is that for all Mac people, this eliminates the problem of not having a Mac program to download. Are you planning to keep the downloaded program functional, useful for a while? And phase it out after a bit, or do you not know yet?
I think we're not sure yet. I mean, Deb's launching into a new fellowship, like right now, that's going to run for...
And you said those fellows are going to restart with the download.
Yeah, well, they'll do the whole fellowship with the desktop version, because
Yeah, right.
one of the things that we're going to need to do, and we may talk to some of our early access folks about this, is figure out exactly what the workflow will be with the web version, because it's going to change just because Deb will essentially have instant access to the work, which she doesn't have now, right? So now she talks to authors, they install the software, they go off and they work, and she really can't see what they're doing until they share something with it. With the web version, we're building Deb mode, which will allow Deb to look over authors' shoulders, essentially. I don't know if Deb quite knows that.
Tell the authors.
Yes, well, yeah, and in the sense of full
It's a spy
disclosure,
function.
yes. In the sense of yes. I mean, authors will be aware of what the workflow is and how, and how those things will work. And I suspect that for the most part, Deb won't be peering over people's shoulders. But there's always people whose shoulders need to be peered over in order to get, to sort of wrap things up, right? So, so yes, it'll help improve that sort of stuff. But we will keep the desktop version around for a little bit. I mean, at least the next year, and possibly longer. But one of the things to keep in mind is that as the viewer changed, and we had just a little peek of the viewer, as the viewer changed, some of the things that you can do in the desktop version of CALI Author really don't work right in the viewer anymore. So there's that sort of disconnect, as time goes by, that desktop viewer just gets less and less useful. Anybody else? Anything else? Yes?
If someone was writing or thinking of writing a program, they really should be looking at it this way then.
Yes.
So that the questions were formatted in a way that's going to carry forward.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we'll get it out for folks to start looking at. And with QuizWrite, a couple of years ago, we spent the time from the conference until the end of the year doing the early access and tuning things up, and then it was ready to go at ALS the following year. And this is more complicated than that, but I anticipate the same sort of thing here. So, we'll be working on this over the summer and through the fall, and hopefully at ALS we can have some sort of big, shiny thing in the booth in the exhibit hall that maybe somebody will show up. So. Nobody goes to that exhibit hall anymore. It's kind of sad. It gets like, well, anyway. So this is the kind of thing. So if you're interested, definitely sign up for the thing, and both Sam and I will get emails. I set up Sam so you get email. So any other questions? Okay. Is everybody going to the reception? It's gonna be a lot of fun. We took a walk over there the other night. It's gonna be a blast. There's a lot of stuff to do. So. Alrighty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, remember, we're still recording for the internet for the next 10 minutes, so.
That's my thing, like, can I use it on the Mac? Yes. Magic, honey.
I made it all the way through.
I was supposed to get a notification, but it did it at one time. Yeah, so I got like a gig of data for this conference, it doesn't change until
To,
Saturday.
like, the original office stuff, you need to keep it actually changed, and so it displays like original office, then the new office, whether the job is changed. I have seen, I have seen lessons where people are blacked out. Yeah, I mean, they've taken everything out, and they do that now.
I don't really know what Josh like is, but
Well, that's the problem.
And we do need, and we need to go back to, it's right, to hunt out and replace all the, actually, we can't take out all the
Add to that year's.
We're gonna leave that because the existing, out-of-published lessons. So that'll
not
keep
anymore, as of
around
3 o'clock today, I don't have to work.
It's 10,000.
Like, you had fun, I gave it from adults, junior high.
They had a hand.
They were a great starting point.
And then,
Right.
then her uncle wanted one.
One person signed up already. Just the one? Oh, four. 4 people have signed up already. I love the web form module. You just make a little form and then you just, you know. Somebody fired off a form from the class, from the, I had apparently never turned off the quiz right early access thing from 2 years ago. And somehow somebody found it today from here. And like filled it out. I'm like, someone turned it off. I'm not sure why it was still on. Yeah. I don't know how it, I don't know where it, I don't know where it popped from. All right. What you?
Yes, 5 minutes. I need to go back to the hotel and drop off my stuff. So. But I'm not gonna call the shuttle until I'm ready to power down. Actually go downstairs.
You already called or no?
I haven't called yet.
I figured like if everybody's gonna be calling the shuttle,
Yeah, it might as well be like a group.
see you there.